Good day and welcome along. It's Thursday, the 6th of November, and for the next hour, we're going to be talking through all the latest and greatest news from the world of AI. And in 30 minutes from now, we're actually joined by a guest. We're joined by Gregory John, who is building a new app called Radian. So he's going to tell us all about it and show us how to use it. But without further ado, let's jump into the top stories from the last 24 hours. Okay, let me just share the right screen for you, and we shall get going. Okay, first story. I think we actually covered this briefly yesterday, but we have slightly more details about it now and we know more. So here it is. Apple to use Google's AI model to run the new Siri, Bloomberg reports. So everyone was wondering if Apple is actually going to build their own AI. Apple Intelligence is lagging far behind, and now they're going to be looping in Google to help them improve their new series from Bloomberg, but written in Reuters. Apple plans to use a 1.2 trillion parameter artificial intelligence model developed by Alphabet's Google to help power a revamp of its Siri voice assistant, Bloomberg News reported. So after evaluation, the companies are finalizing a deal that would have Apple pay about $1 billion a year. This got muted. Okay. The iPhone maker will use Google Gemini's model as a stopgap until its own systems are ready. Bloomberg reported this model's 1.2 trillion parameter, a measure of AI model complexity, would dwarf Apple's current system. So this is just interesting because everyone thought that Apple were going to develop all their own AI on device. It's not happening. It's not good enough. And now they're bringing Google in to help them make Siri better, which is not a huge W for Apple, but also an interesting trend that they might actually start bringing in more external companies to help bolster the Apple ecosystem. Is it a sign of the decline of the Apple empire? Maybe. There's a story from Wired. Whisper into this AI-powered smart ring to organize your thoughts. There's a lot of pushback over the last couple of years about AI hardware devices. We had Rabbit, like the handheld device, which never really went anywhere. We are still around, but I don't think it's kind of tearing it up as they thought it was. We had Humane, which raised a bunch of money and then went under. We've got Friend, which is doing okay by all accounts. And now we have a new medium, a ring. The company called Sandbar has unveiled a smart wearable called the Steam Ring, which uses a microphone to record your softly spoken thoughts. And it's powered by, you guessed it, an AI chatbot. Okay. Here we go. Everyone has an inner monologue, whether you're commuting on the train, riding a bike, or in the shower. Chances are you're thinking about the day ahead, tasks you need to do, or maybe just mulling over a conversation you had the night before. Much of this stays in our brains, soon to be forgotten or pushed away when the train comes to the station. But what if you could have it all subtly recorded in one place, ready for you to digest later? So the company's called Sandbar. It came out of stealth after 2 years in development, led by two co-founders who previously worked at Control Labs, later at Meta, and has raised $30 million in venture funding. So this is the medium. This is what it looks like. Let me just zoom out a little bit. Where is it? Here we go. This is what it looks like. A mouse for voice. Was that the... Yeah, that was the image. With a little microphone on there that you can kind of whisper into it. We've seen like Aura rings and Whoop bands, but AI wearables are now going into rings. What you have to do, you have to raise your hand and talk into the ring. You can even whisper into it in crowded areas if you don't want others to hear. The latest attempt of an AI wearable, it's definitely interesting. I don't think we've kind of figured out exactly what the main medium is of this and how people are going to actually use it. But it's good that people are trying. There's actually another story that we found today, or I found today, which was this. Let me see if I can find it because it's relevant to this one. Here it is. Here is a tweet. This might actually be the medium that people use. So AI can now turn brain activity into sentences. So skip the whole microphone thing. Why don't we just read the sentences from a brain and then have it written into your phone? Researchers have created a mind captioning AI that translates your brain activity into fully descriptive sentences, not just keywords. Using fMRI scans and deep language models, the system decodes what people see or imagine with surprising detail, effectively narrating mental scenes. Narrating mental scenes. Beyond its sci-fi appeal, the technology could unlock new ways to understand perception and help those with speech loss regain communication. So this was an article in Nature. It says mind captioning. AI decodes brain activity to turn thoughts into text. So while people will speak, obviously that comes from your brain activity. Why not just skip the whole out of the mouth thing and then just read directly from your brain and then have it do stuff? Because that would be the shortest route if you could just read thoughts. So I wonder if this tech can actually fit into a ring. That would be fairly obscene. Okay, next story. We have some real-time API from X. So if you've been following along of the X acquisition and how you use their API, basically what happens is there was some very aggressive tiering. So it'd be a couple of $100 a month for API access. It would go up to $45,000 a month if you're a business customer or you're building any sort of business application which had some serious traffic. You'd end up paying $45,000 a month. Now they have a usage-based model, and they've released another update, which is real-time trends. It enables you to get instant access to emerging trends, breaking headlines on X, delivered via webhook or streaming. You can build personalized live news feeds, track real-world events, and tap into X's global purse. It's available now as a closed beta for enterprise customers. So you can go and sign up and give it a try if you think that is for you. Next big story from yesterday. Edison Scientific is launching today with our launch of Cosmos, the most powerful AI scientist released yet. They're a spin out from Future House focused on building and commercializing AI agents for science. Try our newest agents, including Cosmos, on our platform today. We've got a video to watch, but AI science is actually moving very fast indeed. Let's have a watch this video.
For centuries, science moved one discovery at a time, but the scale of information has exploded, and that's why we invented Cosmos. Cosmos takes data, explores thousands of hypotheses, and finds hidden patterns that lead to novel discoveries. Cosmos is domain agnostic. It helps scientists spot connections that were before unseen, and it traces every claim it makes. Science that took months can now be done in a day. The next era of human discovery is now. Cosmos. From Edison Scientific, accelerating science.
Okay, pretty nuts. Here's some more details. You actually try it out on platform.edison Scientific, but we have another take from Brian Rommel, who is a well-renowned and highly thought of individual on X who shares some incredible stuff. So he's actually testing it. He said, meet Cosmos, the AI scientist from Edison Sci. I'm testing it now. It does 6 months of work in a single day. It can read 1,500 papers and write 42,000 lines of code. So far, it's made 7 independently verifiable discoveries. So they're releasing those today in areas ranging from neuroscience to material science and clinical genetics in collaboration with our academic beta testers. 3 of these discoveries reproduced unpublished findings. 4 are net new, valid contributions to the scientific literature. So this is new knowledge being created and discovered by AI. Cosmos' use of a structured, continuously updated world model allows it to process orders of magnitude more information that could fit into the context of even the longest context language models, allowing it to synthesize more information and pursue coherent goals over longer time horizons than Robin or any of our other prior agents. Cosmos is the most compute-intensive language agent released so far in any field, and by far the most capable AI scientist available today. The use of a persistent world model also enables single Cosmos trajectories to produce highly complex outputs that require multiple significant logic steps. So it's different than many other of the AI tools out there. It's more similar to a deep research tool than it is a chatbot. It takes some time to kind of figure out how to prompt it effectively, Brian says, and 80% of Cosmos findings are reproducible, which means 20% are not, and it does not produce outputs that are equivalent to several months of human labor, but it also goes down rabbit holes or chases statistically significant yet scientifically irrelevant findings. It says it will let us know about any results. But that is crazy. This is one of the things which was the hope for AI efforts, was to be able to create new knowledge, new human knowledge that humans haven't actually discovered before. And a lot of these AI scientist products, including this one, Cosmos by Edison Scientific, is now on the way to doing exactly that, which is freaking awesome. They have a great website too. Let me just see if I can show you this. It's kind of cropped off, but here we go. The AI platform for scientific R&D. Look at this for a website. Featured news, one environment for scientific research, validated with real discoveries. Looks delightful. You can read the whole blog, actually, which is the introduction here. It's on the introduction of Edison Scientific. If you want to dive down the rabbit hole, it's at edisonscientific.com. Okay, they mentioned world models there. We're moving into a different type of world model here, and that's built by a company called Odyssey. It's an AI lab pioneering interactive video models. So these are basically video models that are rendered in real time that you can interact with. Okay, so not pre-recorded videos, they're just live videos that you can interact with. Odyssey 2 is here, instant, interactive, and live video. Let me play this. Let me just share the right screen. Okay, here we go. Crazy. So interactive, instant interactive AI video. If you think there was some kind of artifacts in there which didn't look perfect, obviously when you spend time creating a video in Sora or VO 3.1, those outputs are actually incredible. This is live and you can make that video do anything just by prompting it inside of Odyssey 2. But this is the worst it's going to get. Think about it in the future. Everything could be streamed or generated in real time, theoretically. So it's kind of nuts, actually, from Odyssey. Next story from The Verge says this. XAI used employee biometric data to train Elon Musk's AI girlfriend. Let me scroll down. Actually, yeah, zoom in. It's better. XAI used employee biometric data to train Elon Musk's AI girlfriend. So actually not his direct AI girlfriend, but the companions used inside of XAI and Grok. Employees were told the use of their data was a job requirement. Here's the story. Oh, God. Elon Musk's AI company compelled its employees to submit their own biometric data to train its Annie female chatbot, according to the Wall Street Journal. Annie, an anime avatar with blonde pigtails and a not safe for work setting, was released over the summer for users who subscribe to X's $30 a month Super Grok service. And after testing it, The Verge's Victoria Song described it as a modern take on a phone sex line. Crazy. On a phone sex line, there appears to be real people behind the avatar. In a meeting in April, XAI staff lawyer Lily Lin told employees to submit their biometric data to train the AI companion to be more human-like in its interactions with customers, according to a recording of the meeting review by the journal. I don't know what like biometric data as such, like what sort of biometric data. Let's find out, because I'm not sure what they would use. Employees that were assigned as AI tutors were instructed to sign release forms granting XAI a perpetual worldwide non-exclusive sub-licensable royalty-free license to use, reproduce, and distribute their faces and voices as part of a confidential program codenamed Project Skippy. The data would be used to train Annie as well as Grok's other companions. I guess like biometric data, when I hear biometric data, I guess if they're using faces, um, they're faces and voices, but it's not like real human faces on these companions. They are like anime type. So it looks like they had to submit them. According to the journal, some employees balked at the demand, concerned that their face or likeness could be sold to other companies and used in deepfake videos. Well, you can use people's faces in deepfake videos anyway. The employees were put off by the chatbot's demeanor and its likeness to a waifu, but were told that the collection of the data was a job requirement to advance XAI's mission. Okay. Very interesting stuff. Big short investor Michael Burry follows up cryptic AI bubble warning with bearish stock activity on Nvidia and Palantir. So he's short. 80% of his portfolio, I think, is short Nvidia and Palantir. So famously, Michael Burry was made famous in the 2015 film The Big Short for his prescience on the 2008 housing market collapse, disclosed some cynical bets against tech giants Nvidia and Palantir amid concerns of AI company valuations swelling beyond their true worth. And I think he actually tweeted, it was a year ago now-ish, have to check, that he was short, sell everything, and it's been up only since then. So maybe just a slightly early call. We don't know yet. Maybe we're just going to see a crash, but he thinks it has. Scion Asset Management, Burry's hedge fund, bought more than $1 billion in put options on the two tech companies, according to the regulatory filings released on Monday for a quarter ending September 30th. He puts a put refers to an options contract that allows the buyer to profit when the share prices decline. Scion has disclosed all options on Pfizer and Halliburton. Okay, so he offered a cynical social media post about market omens. Sometimes we see bubbles, he said in a recent X post. Sometimes there is something to do about it. Sometimes the only winning move is to not to play. We'll see. Will he win? Will he get smoked on this? We don't know. I think there's a lot of people betting that the AI market will carry on going up. I think we had a response from CEO Alex Karp, CEO of Palantir, rebuked Burry's move in an interview with CNBC. Said the two companies he's shorting are the ones making all the money, which is super weird. The idea that chips and ontology is what you want to short is bat-ass crazy. He's actually putting a short on AI. It was us and Nvidia, he added. Okay, so he's shorting AI. Basically, don't know how it's going to go for him. May pay off, may not. We will see on that one indeed. Okay, Google Maps navigation gets a powerful boost with Gemini. So the historically good Google Maps application is now getting Gemini layered over it to give your AI assistant abilities to help you reroute, plan routes, or find things like budget-friendly restaurants with vegan options along the route, something within a couple of miles. So rather than actually tapping your phone and searching, maybe just press the voice and it will find it for you. We've got a video here that we can watch which shows exactly how this bad boy works.
Is there a budget-friendly restaurant with vegan options along my route? Something within a couple miles?
I found a few budget-friendly restaurants with vegan options along your route, all with a short detour. The closest one is Kovai Cafe, with a 4.5-star rating, known for its delectable South Indian cuisine. Would you like to go to Kovai Cafe or hear about more options?
What's parking like at Kovai Cafe?
Parking is easy to find at Kovai Cafe. It is located in a complex with a large parking lot.
Okay, let's go there.
Okay, navigating to Kovai Cafe.
Oh, hey Google. Can you also add a calendar event for Lily's soccer practice tomorrow for 5 p.m.?
You got it. I've added Lily's soccer practice tomorrow at 5 p.m.
Okay. That's awesome. So you can actually now integrate Gemini intelligence on top of Google Maps, or it comes with it. Now, but if you wanted to build something like that yourself, you could use a product like createanything.com or anything. You can turn your words into mobile apps, sites, tools, and products built with code. You can add GPT-5 and other Gemini integrations on top of any mobile app that you want to build. All you have to do is put your natural language into a box and you'll spit out a mobile app on the other end. Okay, next story. We have Netflix and video podcasts. Let me just bring this up in a way that you can see it. Netflix is reportedly going big on video podcasts for 2026. Agents at leading talent agencies have been approached by the streaming giant. So 2026 is seemingly going to be a year that Netflix gets aggressive with podcasting. We already knew that the streamer will start licensing video podcasts from Spotify Studios and The Ringer in the new year, according to the new report. And according to a new report, leading talent agencies are being sounded out ahead of a Q1 push, saying that Netflix has sent dozens of requests to agents at WME, UTA, and CAA as it looks to add more video podcasts to the platform. The plan is that the company launches video podcast offering in early 2026, by which time it wants to have a library of shows with existing audiences. Okay, if you're starting a video podcast, or if you have a video podcast, this could be your chance. Get it to Netflix, get it on the big TVs around the world. TVs or Netflix and YouTube are now the new TV. So this could be a big opportunity. Also reported this week that Netflix is also in licensing talks with iHeartMedia, which is one of the largest podcast publishers in the world, and makes shows like Stuff You Should Know About, The Breakfast Club, or Stuff You Should Know About and The Breakfast Club. According to Bloomberg sources, Netflix wants an exclusivity deal that would mean featured shows would no longer be uploaded to YouTube. Okay, fragmentation of the space for this with obviously Joe Rogan and Spotify too, but now it's back on YouTube. The latter is Spotify's biggest rival in the space, also passed 1 billion monthly active podcast viewers at the start of 2025. Okay, good opportunity for creators. If you have a popular podcast with a lot of viewers, then absolutely start putting the feelers out to see if you can get onto Netflix. I'm sure the bigger ones have already had some people outreach to them. Okay, let's whiz through some more tech or product focused news now. There's a quote from Sam Altman from a recent interview. He says, very little discussed the hardware implications of self-improvement. Robots that can build other robots, data centers that can build other data centers, chips that can design their own next generation. Maybe the problem of chip design will turn out to be a very good problem for previous generations of chips. Okay, this is to go with the whole self-improvement of AI, and AI is to create other AIs, robots to create other robots, etc. We all know that the most advanced chips with NVIDIA, or maybe we don't know, but the most advanced AI chips, AI-powered chips at NVIDIA cannot now be built without AI. So AI is going to build everything, and if it can self-build everything, then this is going to be crazy. This is from the conversation between Tyler Cohen and Sam Altman. Okay, big funny one. Actually, a really interesting new app just launched. This is a post from Eugenia Koida, who was actually the founder of a very popular platform called a companionship platform called Replica, and he just launched a new app. Let me share the right tab for you. It's called Wabi. So the filter announced 20 million in funding led by A16Z. Wabi is ushering a new era of personal software. Anybody can effortlessly create, discover, and remix and share personalized mini apps. So basically, her bet is that software is now so easy to build with these new AI builders, or is getting way easier to build, that everybody's just going to build small apps for their own personal use case. Now, Wabi is a bet on that. Wabi. So the next 50 will be built by people. Just as YouTube unlocked creative power through video, Wabi will unlock creative power through software. The YouTube moment for apps is here. We cannot wait to see what you create. So here is a little video to show you what exactly Wabi is.
Yeah, you better.
Oh, that's cool. All the integrations are amazing. Okay, that's Wabi. That looks incredible. I like the play actually. I don't know if it's actually powered by this, but it's most likely if it's apps, if there's an app that builds apps, then it's probably powered by one of the supporters and sponsors of this show. And that is expo.dev, which gives you everything you need to build these sort of apps. So full stack React Native framework that lets you build cross-platform applications very easily with enterprise-grade security and powers a lot of the apps we use today, like Replit, which is an app builder that builds apps. We've got Coinbase, we've got Blue Sky, we've got Brex, and a bunch of other popular ones. So if you want to get started on a project that uses this sort of technology, you can go to expo.dev. Here's the Wabi site too. It's obviously very well designed. Looks like they've got a good look and feel about it, which is really nice too. So you can go to wabi.ai to actually try it out. Another product update here from OpenAI. You can now interrupt long-running queries and add new context without restarting or losing progress. This is especially useful for refining deep research or GPT-5 Pro queries as the model will just adjust its response with your new requirements. Just hit update in the sidebar and type in any additional details or clarifications. I'm not sure why my window keeps closing, but here we are. Okay. Let's watch this video. It's only short. I don't think there's any music. Basically, if you set it off on a query, I think it's fairly self-explanatory. Set it off on a query, and the agent will just include your additional details as it goes. So before you'd have to kind of stop it, you'd have to rerun it. Now you can just update it. This is really good. If you're setting off like a deep research query, it goes off for maybe 15, 20 minutes. It organizes a load of data and comes back. Maybe you just want to add some additional context. You can see it's kind of getting the info that you don't want. You can just give it some more info and it can fine tune that and actually just give you exactly the input you need, which is, I think this is a really good update. Next, Snapchat and Perplexity, starting in early 2026, you'll be able to ask questions and explore new ideas and get credible answers right inside the chat. AI that feels more personal, social, and fun, which is, it's good. So we're seeing smart AI search from Perplexity coming on stream across a lot more platforms indeed. So good deal from Snapchat and Perplexity there. This is the additional Wabi story. We covered that one. We've got a few leaks before we're joined by Gregory. We've got first beta users getting early access to Comet browser inside of Android. You'd be happy to know we saw Android actually get a release before the EU in Sora, and now they're getting Comet too. So good news for Android users. Another one from Testing Catalog News, GPT 5.1 confirmed as a new trace of GPT 5.1 thinking have been spotted on ChatGPT. So it's going to be Gemini 3 versus GPT 5.1 soon. They have a wonderful knack of timing their releases together. I wonder how they do that indeed. Maybe they just both sandbag it until maybe there's some crossed information between the two, timing them so they can both release at the same time. Okie dokie, let's bring Gregory in. Let me sure I'm going to go to the right screen. Here's the main man. How
Hey,
are
Tom.
you doing, good sir?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I've been enjoying the show and excited to talk about Radiant today.
Yeah, so if anybody doesn't know who Gregory is, Gregory's also an incredible educator of technology, teaching people how to build, more recently, how to build apps, AI-powered apps using tools like Bubble, among others, and has recently been working on his project buildcamp.io, I think. Is it .io?
Yep, buildcamp.io.
And also Radiant, which we're going to talk about today. So the idea for this is, Greg, just want to do an additional intro if I've missed anything off, and then we'll dive into exactly what Radiant is and how you've been thinking about building it, because I think it's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Yeah, so I've been in the no-code space for forever, since it was a term, and moreover, teaching, really. Initially building, I raised venture capital very early on from a no-code built platform.
Mhm.
And yeah, just saw the power of democracy that no-code enabled. But I decided to pivot to AI-assisted coding. I downloaded Cursor about a year and a half ago when it was still
Mhm.
pretty new and hooked from day one. So what I did was I taught myself how to use Cursor, how to build with Next.js, Supabase, Expo for mobile, that kind of
Mhm.
thing. And then I started to teach others. So I thought, what an exciting opportunity. And this year alone, I've taught a few thousand people how to build apps with Cursor, Lovable, and Bolt, but more recently been focusing on the Cursor side.
Got it. So you've seen it from full inception, from first release through to exactly what Cursor is now, which is now a pretty incredibly powerful product, I may say.
It was frustrating to begin with, but it was good to kind of start again from scratch, not
Mhm.
just from my technical ability level, but also to start teaching others from scratch with something fresh that was moving at a blistering pace. And I've been privileged enough to help people launch apps with a variety of different tools, Cursor being the main one, but also understanding and seeing firsthand hundreds of accounts of people getting stuck, getting frustrated. I've been watching how people interact with LLMs, their expectations coming in,
Mhm.
how they feel at the end. So I've had this like broad spectrum insight into how people are using these tools and watching how the tools try to then solve these particular problems.
Got it. And what's been the most common thing that people kind of get stuck on when they start? Because it's been like a 0 to 1 phase for everybody, I guess. And then people are kind of further along than others. I guess if people are using Cursor, they're already kind of technical, I think. Where are people getting hung up?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question because, if we're looking on the spectrum, we have vibe coding down here,
Mhm.
and then we have Cursor over here. And vibe coding tools, I feel like, are trying to like remove the user from uh, needing sort of any technical literacy.
Mhm.
And then you have Cursor over here who have doubled down on education and they want to educate non-technical users how to build in in an IDE. And I think that's a really great approach because the Cursor approach is, far more powerful. But getting started with Cursor and working in an IDE and understanding Git, GitHub, connecting to external databases, that's a really big step and kind of
Mm.
hard. And the courses I teach are like 50% setup, understanding, infrastructure, how it all ties together, security. And then the other 50% is, okay, let's build a product. Whereas the vibe coding, other end of the spectrum is we will deal with all of the infrastructure, which I think is great. But you have to, and we'll get you started as soon as possible. You'll have your landing page, everything will look good. But we can't guarantee a successful outcome. I think that's what it kind of boils down to. And look, no code has created millions of semi-technical users, not from understanding not from understanding code, but from like systems thinking, architecture, how apps work, front end, back end, all that kind of stuff. So you've got like millions of these no code users, whether it's like Bubble, Framer, Webflow, you've got like Zapier, you've got Airtable, you have all of these users who I think want to participate in AI and
Mhm.
might find Cursor to be difficult, requires a lot of education, a lot of
Mhm.
time investment, and they might find vibe coding to be still a little bit in its infancy to a degree, non-deterministic, kind of expensive when you make mistakes. You can get 50% of through the product and then you're kind of stuck. And this is literally why I decided to work on Radian with my friends Riley and Andre, because I was like, the problem is clear. The solution is not absolutely clear, but I have some insight. I
Mm.
had some insight over the last year teaching thousands of students how to build with AI. And I think I know where some of the problems are. So that's what led to me joining the team at Radian. And the last 3 months has just been building at velocity, trying things, getting feedback, but also building with our our North Star in mind. And that North Star is to help people ship apps. Because in my time teaching AI coding, there was not a lot of shipping involved. There were many prototypes. There were just many ideas. There are many sort of great designs, but not a lot of shipped apps.
Okay.
So that's where Radian, I'm hoping that's a problem we can solve. And we can talk through how I'm going to actually, how the team is going to solve that problem.
Yeah. What point did you kind of get through in when you were teaching, or from like using Bolt, using Lovable, or any other platform, to actually figuring out, okay, there's like a clear disconnect here from actually getting through that 50% and then getting something shipped? When did you hit that note? And did you consider building something yourself? And how did that Radian introduction happen?
Yeah, so this is the thing. So me being more technical, I'm able to ship apps on Lovable, Bolt,
Yeah.
Replit. I think it's quite easy.
Mhm. You know how an app's built up. You know the different components you need to connect.
Exactly.
If you need to do some edge functions in Supabase, you'll be able to figure that out yourself.
So that took investing in education for myself.
Mhm.
So getting up at 4 a.m. before work when I was working at a no-code company and putting in the hours. Okay, that took quite a while. And I'm not saying that with Radian you have to put in those hours, but we'll talk about education. But the point being that education is part of our strategy. And I've seen that it's now part of Curse's strategy, it's part of Superbase's strategy, and a few others. I think it's important, really important. And education is evolving. Education doesn't need to be a 10-hour course, something I teach at Build Camp historically. Education can be just little insights built into your editor, little like modals with more information, 5-minute videos. It might be that on the weekend, spend 10 minutes reading the documentation on managing context or the developer workflow, or So education is changing, but we are going to, at Radian, double down on education, because I feel today there is still a certain amount of technical literacy that is required to build anything kind of useful to a degree. If we're saying we're moving to a future where anyone can just type a paragraph and now they have an app, useful for some, but if you want to build, like, let's be honest with ourselves, if you want to stand out, you're not going to stand out by just being able to type a paragraph into a chat box. You're going to have to you're going to need some technical literacy. And it's much easier these days. So that educational experience
bar has gone up quite a lot since no code days. I think the bar for a piece of software that people actually use, now that a lot more people can build software, has actually risen quite steeply over the last maybe 2 years.
Absolutely, it has. So part of the Radian strategy is education, but it's also very much platform. Like, we're not kidding ourselves. We feel it's like almost 50-50 in a way. And I was listening to Cursor talking on stage recently at an open AI event, also saying that AI coding is 50% platform, 50% education, like, or 50% the user. Completely get that. Completely understand firsthand. I've been doing this for a while now. I get that. So how do we build a platform where we don't want to make education mandatory, but what we're saying is, look, we'll invite you in. We're not going to abstract you away. Let's invite you in. Let's learn together. And let's build a platform that's far more powerful than just basic vibe coding platforms, has an essence of deterministic outputs, what you find in no code, but also has just the power of clean code at the base, not too heavily abstracted. Okay. So, yeah. And, after doing education this year, I thought to myself, which developers do I know? Because I'm not a traditional developer. I'm sort of moving in that direction, but I thought to myself, like, I feel like I'm ready to build something. And a couple of weeks later,
all the moments have led up to this day.
Serendipitous. It was such a strange thing, Tom. And I won't sort of harp on this for too long, but just very quickly. An old friend, or I could say friend, I guess, at the moment, but popped into my DMs that I hadn't spoken to for a long time. And he said, Greg, I'm building this like new kind of platform. It's kind of vibe coding, kind of no code. And this was basically Radian under a different name at that stage. And I thought to myself, well, I'll have a look, but I feel like I know, I have firsthand experience of probably how it should be built. But when I looked at it, I was like, wow, okay, no, this is what I had in mind.
Did you think you were going to hate it?
So I just thought to myself, like, do I start my own thing from scratch, or do I join an existing team that have already built a prototype that is, 70% or 80% of what I had in my mind? So I did. I just joined the team on a handshake. Guys flew to London within 48 hours of the DM. We got together, in a room with a whiteboard. We decided on our North Star, how we were going to get there. And then here we are 3 months later, almost at a version 1, a stable version. And I'm pretty proud of
Amazing.
what we built. Yeah.
So I think we're actually going to take a look at it. Is that right? We're gonna have a play around to see what you can build.
Yeah. So just as we're talking, I just kicked off a build.
Okay.
And I thought, let me just, so this is basically just loaded. And what is it? It's Hourglass. Let me take a look at the prompt very quickly. So Hourglass is a collaborative task management application. Okay, so project management application. This was the prompt, and it did some work. And at the bottom of this, it says view to-dos, and it's got these what look like to-do list items. So one of the things that the problem I feel with vibe coding is the
It's going to
unstructured
be
nature.
controversial, this one.
It's the unstructured nature of building. There is no process involved. And if we think back to how software was built prior to AI, very much process driven. And we don't want to remove the fun from this. And this is optional with Radian, but we have thought really hard about how to provide a more structured, deterministic process to building apps.
Okay.
And this is how we differentiate ourselves today. So
Explain,
let me just walk you.
Sorry to cut in. Explain deterministic for people who are looking at this. Maybe they're coming in from their first time exploring like software creation, and maybe this product isn't exactly for those people. But there's also a lot of people who are coming from a developer background who then hear about Bolt and Lovable, then they realize the limitations or the things that they want to do with it because they are technical, and then they find another product, and I think at some point they're going to end up at a product like Radian. So can you just explain what the difference is and what deterministic means for those people who don't know?
Yeah, absolutely. So deterministic just means you have an input and you are looking for a determined output. So for instance, I want this button to be blue. In what I can do is I can head across to the editor, click on this button, and then I can make the button blue. I know it's going to work. This is called a deterministic output, right? So I guess I could make it, something else. Got a bit of a bug here, but anyway, so deterministic means you know what the output is going to be, and you go and ask for it. Okay. Non-deterministic output means that you are letting AI take the reins here. So you're not always going to get the exact result that you expect.
Okay.
And this is kind of fun to play in this way. But this is where a bit of structure is needed. So if I say to AI, build me a task management app, and this is what it started building this for me, just sort of a landing page. What else do we have here? We have an authentication page. This was a partially non-deterministic representation because I didn't design any of this stuff. So the AI designed it for me. And that's part of what I enjoy, is that you do have this variability. And this was something that I had to figure out, how do I teach AI when the output produced on my screen is going to be different to the output produced on the student screen. But you can actually lean into this, and it actually becomes a lot of fun. Now, there's certain parts of the process where a non-deterministic output, too much of this variability becomes a problem. And this is when you get into like frustration, because what you have in your mind is not what's shown on the canvas.
Which parts of the project do you want to be deterministic, and which parts do you not want to be?
So it's more about us having more guardrails for the Radian agent.
Okay.
So I started off with this prompt, and this is what it's done. And it's not exactly what I want, but the pieces are in place. I can see I've got frame of motion on page load. I've got an image down here that I will change. This image was just created with a Nano Banana. It's got like the components are there. It's probably responsive. If I come down to say 400, let's have a look. Yeah, perfectly responsive. So I'm pretty happy with that. So let's talk about the developer process, because this is where we are providing structure and process to building apps. So now we've got this to-do list after the very first prompt is created an index page, bit of design, hasn't wasted too many tokens trying to be like overly opinionated about how it should look. It's made it sort of pretty basic. This is good. This is a good thing. I do not want an overly opinionated design where it decides on like a very strong theme, that kind of thing. It's just basic. But from here, at the bottom, it says the project setup is complete. View your to-do list below to keep building. So if I click on this first one, define the core database schema, it's going to open up this modal. Now, this is where the magic happens. And look, we're still not at a stable version. So we're still working this out. But basically, the developer process is, after the initial prompt, in the background, Radian created all of these to-do list items. Implement project creation and details.
Yep.
Build project task table view. Add task management functionality with prompts, ready-made prompts in here. So if I just go to this first one, if I click on build task, and so far, all I've done is the starting prompt from the very beginning, pulled me into this editor, and now all I'm doing is clicking this button.
Got it.
And now what it's going to do is it's sent the prompt off to the chat, and it's going to just get to work to then build the database.
And how does this work in other vibe coding tools where they just kind of just charge off and build everything for you compared to this?
Yeah, well, in other tools, I think it's slightly more unstructured. I think we're going to start seeing more of this project structure soon. But in other tools, you would then rely on the user. You might say at the end of the chat, what do you want to do next? And the user can go off and do anything. They can go build a blog system, or they can go do reset password flows or something like that. That's fine. But this to-do list item is like a mini project management for Radiant Agent.
Got it.
And it's in order. I can change the order. I can edit these. I can update them. I can change them. I can create my own ones, or I can use Radiant Planner here. So let's say to Radiant Planner, I would like to implement Stripe checkout from a pricing page. Now, this is a planning agent. So let's see what happens if I type this.
We were talking about this earlier, Stripe integration being notoriously quite difficult for vibe coders to do.
So it says, so the planning agent hasn't done anything. It says, need 3 tasks. First, add subscription table, track active plans. Second, create the pricing page and Stripe button. Third, build webhook workflow to handle Stripe events. I'm going to say, also create the Stripe checkout workflow to take users to a Stripe hosted page. All right, so I'm just going to add to this. And now it's going to go off and create 4 tasks.
Okay. That's cool. And I noticed you typed workflow in there. Maybe we can get onto that in a minute. We can show it, but you actually have workflows built into the platform too, right? Rather than it just being like hidden away.
Absolutely. So yeah, Radiant is a full stack development platform with an integrated backend, integrated authentication. So I can sign up a user right now. After the first prompt, I can sign up a user. This has many benefits. One of the benefits being, if I just close this down and go to the backend, one of the benefits being that we have a chat agent here as well. So I can actually chat to my tables. I can say things like...
I have that feature in Superbase, but this is kind of native to Radiant too.
Yeah, native to Radiant. Here's the user table, so I can ask it to create me columns. I can ask it to create me foreign keys to associate a user's column with maybe a particular project. We have row-level security, basically. I can add policies using English. I can say only users should see their own data. And here's creating me a policy. It's a read policy where users can only read their own data.
Amazing.
So our users don't really need to fully understand how security policies, and this is quite important. So we want it to be simple, but we also want to make sure that people always understand how things work. So instead of sending someone off to, watch a 30-minute video on understanding security policies, we've just got this little explain button here. This rule means that when you
Yeah, I
try
love
to
that.
view user information, you will only be able to see your own profile, etc.
And I guess is when you go along, once people are creating their tables or they get auto-created for them, then you can probably auto-suggest RLS policies as you get further down the line, and then you can choose. Or then once this project maybe gets big enough that a senior developer or someone more technical can come in, they can have a look through all your RLS and they can actually get granular with it too, rather than it being completely abstracted away from the user. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
What are you using
Absolutely.
for the backend database? Just out of I know that Replit use Neon. Then you have Superbase being used by Bolt and Lovable and other tools. What are you using?
Yeah, we're using Cloudflare for everything. We're using
Whoa.
Cloudflare. They've got a database now that is perfect for like the particular platform we have.
Yep.
We're using Cloudflare storage. It's called R2 storage.
Mhm.
We're using their workers to host our apps. We've just adopted their entire infrastructure. And again, there are a lot of benefits behind this. Sure, you could have a Neon database. I tell you what, 99.99% of Replit apps are not even using. I think it's not a great fit. Neon is expensive. Superbase is expensive. I don't think that these are like the best databases for what users are building with vibe coding tools at the
Okay.
moment.
Interesting.
So we are going to have a Neon option later on in one of our enterprise plans. But at the moment, we're just using quite a straightforward database. It's called SQLite.
Perfect.
Don't let the term light throw you off. It can scale to millions of users,
It's probably
but
more
it's
than most people need.
it's far more cost effective and it does the job, and it's getting very, very popular. So this is part a business choice, but also an implementation choice. Having Cloudflare as our entire infrastructure means that we can build, like, again, guardrails, and we can build really, really smart agents to be able to operate our infrastructure.
Amazing. Love to hear it. I've seen, yeah, they've released a load of good features recently. So it's interesting to hear that you're using their full stack. That's cool.
Yeah. So from the prompt, a project table was created with some mock data. Okay. And you can see we've got project relations here as well.
Mhm.
Task table, team table, user table as well.
So this
And
gets automatically created as your project gets created, right?
Well, so
Or it
because
was getting created through your tasks. Sorry.
this is from the to-do list item. So I clicked on build task for define
Got it.
core database schema. So I'm going to mark that as complete. So I can then go to the next task and I can say create the dashboard layout route. So you can see the flow we're trying to create here is use this mode, like plan with Radian for a feature.
Mhm.
Let Radian build the feature. Radian will then give you instructions on how to test the feature. Go off and test the feature. Then you can iterate on that feature if you want. So I can come across to the editor. If I don't like this, I can say delete. I can also manually delete it in the layers panel. And I can also, I can style it how I want as well. So we have in the editor, it's kind of like a framer or a Webflow layout where you have the familiar layers down the left-hand side that I can expand.
Mhm. That's what I was going to ask, because you see this, and you've got obviously AI built throughout. This is kind of from an AI first point of view, but you also have the granularity control on both layers and layout and sizing and styling and padding and margin and all those things that maybe
Yeah,
not higher level designers, but professional designers, professional web people, builders, whatever you want to call them, would expect from like a higher grade platform, maybe like a Webflow or a Framer.
absolutely. So it's just like a familiar tool set that we wanted to include as well. And it's been quite hard to build, but if you do get stuck, you can simply click down on this little guy and just ask Radiant to do something. So at the moment, we don't have the ability to have color gradients, but you can just say to Radiant, add a color gradient from dark blue to light blue on this button, and it'll go off and do it. And this is actually a very cost-effective way to build in Radiant. So this would be like,
I was going to say, I think it's actually refreshing that you haven't got gradients at this point. I think
yeah,
you mentioned before,
exactly, yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of V0, V0.1 or version 1 of most people's vibe coded apps have a gradient included somewhere, just because it's in all the training data for how these apps have been made. So it's actually nice to see a clean site without gradients included so far.
I wanted to quickly show you a workflow. So I'm going to create a Stripe checkout workflow. And I've quickly read through this. This looks pretty good. So I'm just going to kick this off because I want to show you a new feature we just released that makes us completely unique in the workflow space. So
Hmm.
front-end workflows, for instance, when this button is clicked, we want to authenticate a user and navigate them to, for instance, a protected dashboard page. All of those like front-end workflows, they are all built in. AI just does it. So we no longer have to string together front-end workflows. Back-end workflows are a slightly different thing because back-end workflows often are about integrating with Stripe or integrating with loops for email
Yep.
or sending your data somewhere else to be processed by N8N or Zapier. So backend workflows is something that we also use Radiant Agent to create.
Hmm.
But users have said, well, we kind of want to be able to visualize what they look like. And this is something we've just worked on now, is how to actually how to break out a code file, a backend workflow, which is a code file, bunch of functions. How do we split that into various steps? Then how do we allow a user to click on a step and then ask for an explanation or an update or some kind of change? And
Got it.
that's something, yeah, we've just released. So this is going to sort of get to work doing that. I'm just aware of
Is this
time here.
Yeah, we'll see how we follow. You can always join for another session and go do a deeper dive. But was this kind of inspired by? I know we talked before about Bubble because they have these sort of back end workflows and they're all chained together that can end up doing really powerful things.
Yeah, I mean, Bubble, maybe Zapier as well, maybe N8N, possibly
Mhm.
maybe closer to that.
Okay.
But with, for instance, I'm going to be creating a Stripe integration with fairly minimal effort. I don't have to say
Said
step
no
one.
vibe coder ever.
Yeah, I don't have to say like step one, do this, step two, do this. It was all planned out in this to-do list modal. We use the agent planner. It got the documentation. It understands the process. That's just going to be done for me. When that workflow is ready, it's going to be,
Yep.
here it is here. It's done. So let's
Got
have a
it.
look.
Okay.
I'll quickly read this to you. So it says, this workflow handles subscription purchases. It validates, and this is completely non-deterministic,
Mhm.
don't actually know what it says. It validates the user and price data, checks for an existing user subscription, creates the Stripe checkout session, updates the Stripe subscription record with the Stripe customer ID, et cetera, and there's more to learn here. So just from like reading this, I can fully understand what this workflow does. I can also click on this first step input to see what inputs are required. Of course, these will be fed again. Radiant Agent will build the pricing page for me.
Mhm.
But I can also click on these because I might not know what like initialize Stripe client means, right? So I can come down here in the chat and I can say, explain this to me. And it
Because
says,
this is
this
all the
step
stuff
sets up.
that people. Sorry, I was going to say these are all the things where people try to set up Stripe and they end up in the error death loop of trying to set
Yeah.
up subscriptions and payments, and they can't really dig into exactly where it's broken easily. But this does
Yeah.
it.
So we've broken out this code file is what we had before. And then people said, Greg, I'm not a coder. And I was like, that's true. But I was thinking to myself, this code works. I know it works because I've, been helping out on the platform. And most of our backend workflows really work well. But people weren't happy because they thought, well, I don't really know what it does. So that's why we ended up building this sort of visualization tool that you can interact with and ask for changes. So I can say things like, instead of updating or creating a subscription record, do something else, and it'll update the step for me. So you can see that it does require a little bit of technical literacy to understand what these things are, although we can just ask in plain English what it does. But having a tiny bit of technical literacy will get you a lot further because I'll be able to manipulate these certain steps. I'll be able to ask it to return more values than it currently wants to return.
Hmm.
It
I
just
think
wants
this
me
is
to
good
enter a
too.
value here.
Yeah, sorry, carry on.
I'm not going to enter in my Stripe key.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think this is great because let's say if you're kicking off a project and you're vibe coding a new project or an app, and then maybe you get some traction, you're able to bring in somebody either like part-time as a contract or full-time, then they can actually see all your backend workflows in one place. They know what's going on. I know Windsurf just released that code review product where it will explain your whole code base for you, and that allows people to onboard into your apps quicker because
Nice.
we have a vibe coded spaghetti mess most of the time where senior devs come in, they just want to blow their brains out. This is kind of this is going to stop a lot of senior devs committing suicide, it looks like.
Yeah. You can directly edit the code, and you can, if you know what you're doing, create your own workflow. So I could have created the Stripe checkout workflow myself by reading the Stripe documentation, pasting in a lot of the stuff, and then
Old
just,
school.
yeah, and then I can do
Raw
that, but I
dog
can
it.
do it. I can part do it. I can part do it, and then ask Radiant to do the rest.
Yeah, amazing.
And
Love it.
everywhere we built in explanations and education absolutely everywhere. So when I talk about education, I'm not always talking about like tutorials. Often I'm
Yep.
talking about micro interactions. You dig around, you highlight things, you
Mm.
click explain, and we will tell you exactly what things do.
I think that's good. The highlight, the explain, the little pop-ups. The AI can now do that for us. It doesn't obviously matter what you create. You can just, with these
Yeah.
kind of low-cost models, that you can just produce like a really helpful paragraph now and
Yeah.
again. That's all
Yeah.
good stuff. Amazing, man. Should we can you just bring up the Radian homepage? So if people are going to the link, they know they've landed in the right place. I'm sure a lot of people are going to see this and want to
Sure.
actually give it a try. Yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for
Let me
demoing.
just
I think that's a really good way of thinking about workflows and database and products, and actually getting granular with it too.
absolutely. There's the home
So it's
page.
it's available now. People can sign up and start using it.
We've literally
Early
just launched.
version.
Very early version. It works mostly, when I say that, like 99%. We've just got a few edge cases in some small places, but we already have 18 people that have shipped apps in the last sort of 2 weeks.
Amazing.
So you can do the end-to-end process. Again, we use Cloudflare everything. So we host in
Cool.
Cloudflare, one-click deployment. You can put in your custom domain to get that as well. Everything is safe and secure because we have a bit more control of our code base. So we
Okay.
don't have the same sort of security concerns that other platforms have. We've solved that problem.
Got it.
So this is
Amazing.
Radiant.dev.
Radian.dev. Nice.
Yeah.
We'll link it up. Thanks, man. Thanks for coming on and demoing. That was awesome to see. Congratulations on everything, and look forward to seeing how this hockey sticks up in the not so distant future.
My pleasure, Tom. Thanks for having me. And look, let's do this again in a few months' time. I'd love
Yeah, maybe we
to
can do
go
a
into
whole
more detail.
dedicated hour where we actually build out something from scratch together and see how far we can get.
That'll be great. See you soon,
Perfect.
Tom. Thanks.
Thanks, dude. Bye.
Ciao.
Okay, that's it for today. That is a deep dive into, or a first look at Radian.dev. It's interesting to be like a crossover workflow between like a Webflow, a Framer, or a complete vibe coding platform like Bolt or Lovable. So if you want more granular control, you can do that. So that's Gregory John. That's Radian.dev. Give it a try. And that's it for today. We'll catch you at the same time tomorrow, 2 p.m. CET on Friday, 7th of November. Have a good rest of the day.